It happened over Sunday dinner at my parents' house. The kind of gathering that's supposed to feel warm and safe. My sister sat across from me with her 2 kids. I had my 3. Mom brought out the roast. She set it in the center of the table and smiled at my niece and nephew. "You 2 go ahead and make your plates first," she said. "Get as much as you want." They did, heaping portions, seconds before they'd finished firsts. Then my youngest looked up at Grandma, reached for the serving spoon. Mom's hand came down gently on her wrist. "Wait, sweetheart. Let your cousins finish. You can have what's left." I watched my youngest child's face fall as Grandma refilled my niece's plate. My daughter was 6. She didn't understand why her cousins got first choice and she got the scraps. She just knew it hurt. The word leftovers hung in the air like a slap. My sister didn't flinch. Dad kept eating. No one corrected it. No one even blinked. I looked around that table and felt something crack. This wasn't about food. It had never been about food. They had no idea what I'd been paying for. Not just dinner. Not just this house. Not the life they'd built on my back while treating my children like an afterthought. I didn't say anything that night. I smiled. I nodded. I packed up my kids and drove home in silence. But something had shifted. I'd spent years swallowing these moments, excusing them, believing that blood meant enduring. Not anymore. So I decided to stop paying for my own humiliation. The ride home felt endless. My kids were quiet in the back seat. Too quiet. Halfway there, my daughter asked if Grandma didn't love her anymore. I wanted to lie, to smooth it over, to say it was a misunderstanding. But I was tired of lying for people who didn't protect my children. "Grandma made a choice tonight," I said carefully. "And it wasn't kind." I heard her sniffle. My son stared out the window. That sound, that silence, it settled into my chest like a stone. I'd been writing checks they never once acknowledged. Not a thank you. Not a question about whether I could afford it. Just entitlement wrapped in the assumption that I owed them. For years I told myself it was love. That helping family was what you did. Reframe. Love doesn't humiliate your children and then ask you to pay for the privilege. I pulled into my driveway and sat there after the kids went inside. My phone was still in my hand. Silence is a decision too. I could keep funding this. Keep pretending the imbalance didn't exist. Keep showing up to be diminished. Or I could choose differently. I wasn't going to endure anymore. I was going to act. I opened my banking app, scrolled past this month, last year. The numbers started to add up in my head. Mortgage payments, medical bills, emergency repairs, groceries during tight months that somehow never ended. I'd been keeping them afloat while they kept me underwater. My hands were shaking. Not from anger, from clarity. I pulled up my banking app and started scrolling back. The records went back further than I wanted to admit. Years of transfers, automatic payments I'd set up and forgotten because they'd become background noise. I started opening old text threads, scrolling back through holidays, birthdays, family photos I wasn't in because I was always the one taking them. This wasn't the first holiday I'd left in tears. My sister's kids got the front row at every recital. The biggest slice of cake. The bedroom with the window when we visited. Mine got the couch. The basement. The leftovers. Every single time. I still had every text message. The ones where I asked if we could do Christmas at my place for once. Ignored. The ones where I mentioned my son's award ceremony. Read no reply. The ones where I offered to host Thanksgiving and got back. Your sister already volunteered. She volunteered, I paid. The pattern was older than my oldest child. Receipt. I found a message thread from several years ago. My mom asking if I could cover their mortgage just this once, because Dad's hours got cut. I'd said yes. I looked at my bank records. That once never stopped. Reframe. I wasn't helping during a rough patch. I was funding a lifestyle they couldn't afford while they spent their energy on my sister. She got their time, their pride, their presence. I got the bills. Another text, from a winter I barely remembered. Can you send something for groceries? Don't tell your sister, she worries. I sent it. I always sent it. They didn't want her to worry. But they had no problem making me the silent ATM. I scrolled further. Birthday after birthday where my kids' names were misspelled in group texts. Where my sister's children got paragraphs of praise and mine got an emoji. It was all still there. Archived proof of how little I'd mattered, and I realized I'd been funding their favoritism all along. I stayed up that night building a spreadsheet. Every transaction, every transfer, every time I'd said yes when I should have said no. The totals climbed higher than I wanted to see. My sister's name was always said with pride, mine with obligation. When she called home, Mom put her on speaker so everyone could hear. When I called, I got, "Can I call you back?" When she visited, Dad rearranged his schedule. When I came over, he didn't look up from the TV. She was the daughter they showed off. I was the one they showed up for when they needed something. Reframe. I wasn't less successful. I was just more useful. And that's all I'd ever been to them. I started adding up the totals in my head. Mortgage payments that, just this once, turned into a monthly obligation. Insurance premiums, car repairs, a new roof, medical copays, credit card minimums. They never asked my sister. She didn't have the salary I did. She didn't have the savings. But that wasn't the real reason. They favored her because she was easy to love from a distance. I was the one close enough to bleed. She got their pride because she didn't cost them anything. I got their bills because I'd never learned to say no. And my kids paid the price. Every dollar I sent them was a dollar I didn't save for my own children's future. Every weekend I spent helping them move furniture or fix plumbing was time I didn't spend at my son's games. I'd been so busy being the good daughter that I forgot to protect my own. Threat. My sister had always been the favorite, and she knew it. She leveraged it. One word from her and my parents rearranged reality. I pulled up my message thread with her. Searched for my name. Nothing. Not one time in the past year had she asked how I was. But she'd sent plenty of photos of Mom and Dad with her kids. At the zoo, the park, the museum. All the weekend trips I'd funded and wasn't invited to. I opened a new document. Titled it carefully. Started listing every expense by category and date range. They'd spent more than most people see in a lifetime. On comfort they couldn't afford. On a life they lived on my dime while choosing her over me. That's when I checked my transfer history from the past several years. The bank statements didn't lie. I exported everything. Sorted by recipient. Filtered by years. The screen filled with line after line of transfers. All going one direction. Receipt. Years of mortgage payments. All from my account. Medical bills with my card number. Utility payments under my login. Living expenses that appeared as regular debits going back further than my youngest child's entire life. I had proof. Not just suspicion. Not just hurt feelings. Documentation that couldn't be argued away. Every transfer had a date. A memo. A confirmation number. I opened a statement from several years back. The month I'd had my second child. I was on unpaid leave. Healing from a complicated delivery. Trying to figure out how to keep 2 kids alive on no sleep. That same month, I'd sent them enough to cover their mortgage and then some. I didn't even remember doing it. It had become that automatic. The support wasn't just financial. It was foundational. I hadn't been helping them through rough patches. I'd been holding up their entire life while mine cracked under the weight. Years of mortgage payments, insurance, medical expenses that weren't emergencies, just things they didn't want to budget for. Groceries, gas, repairs, the kind of money that builds retirement funds, college accounts, safety nets. I'd given them security while raising my kids without any. The total sat at the bottom of the spreadsheet. I stared at it until my vision blurred. More than most people earn in a lifetime. Gone. Not invested in my family. Not saved. Not spent on my children. Spent on people who made my daughter wait for leftovers. Reframe, I was never their daughter. I was their backup plan. The financial plan they never had to acknowledge because I kept it quiet. Kept it smooth. Kept pretending it was normal for one child to fund her parents' entire existence while the other one got their affection. My sister didn't know. I'd kept it hidden because they asked me to. Don't tell your sister, she worries. She worried. I paid. I looked at the spreadsheet again, added a column for what that same money would be worth if I'd invested it, if I'd saved it, if I'd put it toward my own family. The number made me nauseous. I opened my text thread with my mom. Thought about sending a screenshot. Thought about asking her if she remembered that I existed beyond my bank account. But I already knew the answer. I forwarded the spreadsheet to my brother instead. He lived across the country. Stayed out of family drama, but he deserved to know. His reply came fast. 3 words. Then a call I didn't answer. They'd spent more than most people earn in a lifetime, on her comfort. I called them the next morning. No preamble. No small talk. I told them we needed to meet. Mom's voice was already tight. Is something wrong? Everything, I thought. But I said, we need to talk about money. Silence. Then Dad picked up the extension. What about it? I laid it out, calmly, quietly, every payment. Every transfer. Every year I'd kept them afloat. I needed to stop, I said. Mom called me ungrateful. Not sad, not surprised, not apologetic, ungrateful. After everything we did for you, she said. Raising you. Putting a roof over your head. I'm putting a roof over yours, I said. Dad cut in. You're being dramatic. We never asked you for anything you couldn't afford. I'd wondered what they'd say when confronted. Now I knew. Denial. Rewriting history. Painting me as the villain for naming what they'd done. You asked me every month, I said. For years. That's what family does, Mom said. You help each other. Then why didn't you ask her? Silence again. Your sister has her own struggles, Dad said finally. And I don't? You've always been fine, Mom said. You're strong. You don't need us the way she does. Reframe, strong meant useful. Need meant love. I'd been strong, so I didn't deserve their care. She was fragile, so she got everything. What about my kids? I asked. What about Sunday dinner? What about it? Mom's voice was sharp now. You told them to wait for leftovers. Oh, for heaven's sake. It was just food. It was favoritism, I said, and I'm done pretending it's not. Dad said I was tearing the family apart. Threat, not just emotional. He said if I kept this up, I'd regret it. That I was alienating everyone. That my sister was already upset. That I was causing problems where none existed. I'm causing problems? My voice cracked. I've been solving yours for years. Then maybe you should have said something sooner, Mom snapped. There it was. The final shift. I was the problem. Not their dependence. Not their favoritism. Me. I'm saying something now, I said. I hung up. My phone lit up immediately. Text after text. Mom, Dad. My sister, suddenly very involved. They actually believed their own story. That I was ungrateful, cruel, selfish. That cutting off money I could barely afford to give was an act of violence. I didn't answer. I wanted to see what happened when the money stopped and the words ran out. So I scheduled the automatic payments to stop that night. I didn't act out of anger. I acted out of clarity. That night I drafted an email. I typed the email with shaking hands. Not because I was afraid. Because I was finally taking up space. Subject line. Notice regarding financial support. Formal. Cold. Necessary. I wrote that effective immediately. All financial support would cease. No more mortgage payments. No more utilities. No more emergency transfers. No more funding their life while they fed my children scraps. I attached the spreadsheet. Every payment. Every date. Every total. They couldn't deny it now. I didn't apologize. Didn't justify. Didn't beg them to understand. I simply stated the facts. Receipt, I included a summary by year. A breakdown by category. A note that I had preserved all transaction records and correspondence per my accountant's advice. That last part was new. I'd called an accountant that afternoon. Asked about gift taxes, about documentation, about protecting myself if this turned legal. She'd been silent for a long moment after I explained. Then she said, You don't owe them a future just because they gave you a past. I put that boundary in writing. Move. I was not refusing to help family. I was refusing to fund my own erasure. The consequence wasn't revenge. It was withdrawal. I wasn't punishing them. I was stopping my own financial hemorrhage and choosing my children. I read the email 4 times. My cursor hovered over send. My brother called. "Did you really pay all that?" he asked. "Every line," I said. "They told me you were exaggerating." Of course they did. "Check the statements," I said. I attached them. He was quiet. Then I didn't know. "Neither did I said. "Not until I added it up." "What are you going to do?" "I already did it." I hit send while he was still on the line. The email went out. No recall. No unsend. Done. My brother asked if I thought they'd ever forgive me. I didn't know. I didn't know if I wanted them to. Forgiveness felt like an invitation to go back. And I was done going back. "Take care of yourself," he said quietly, and hung up. I sat in the silence of my kitchen. My kids were asleep upstairs, safe, fed, loved. I'd chosen right. The first missed mortgage payment would hit within weeks. The calls started within days. Not from my parents at first. From my sister. The mortgage company doesn't care about family dynamics. They care about payments, and the payments stopped. My sister called me repeatedly in a panic. Voicemails stacking up. Texts in all caps. "What did you do?" "Mom is crying." "How could you?" I listened to one voicemail, just one. She told me I was selfish, vindictive, that Mom and Dad were elderly and I was abandoning them. Elderly, but capable of cashing my checks every month for years. I deleted the rest without listening. My brother sent a text to the family group chat. Said he'd seen the records. Said he understood why I'd stopped. My sister removed him from the chat. My parents didn't defend him. The family split clean down the middle. Him and me on one side, them on the other. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. Threat. My sister showed up at my house one evening. I didn't let her in. She yelled through the door that I was ruining everything. That Mom's health was at risk. That the stress was going to kill them both. Then maybe they should budget, I said through the wood. She called me a monster. The consequences had an invoice. A week later, I got a forwarded email. A missed payment notice from the mortgage company. My mother had sent it to my sister, who forwarded it to me with a single line. "Hope you're happy." I wasn't happy, but I was finally free. The money had stopped. And so had my role as the invisible ATM. The notice was clinical, dispassionate, payment overdue. Next steps outlined. Contact customer service. I felt nothing. No guilt, no panic. No urge to fix it. Just space, the kind I hadn't felt in years. Cost. My parents didn't call me themselves. Not to apologize, not to ask. They sent my sister to do their pleading. And when that didn't work, they tried silence. The oldest manipulation. Withdrawal of presence, but you can't withdraw what was never given. Mom's voicemail said they might lose the house. They didn't lose the house. My sister moved in with them. Started contributing. My parents downsized some expenses. Found a way. Turns out they could survive without me. They just didn't want to. My kids don't ask about Grandma anymore. At first, they did. My daughter wanted to know if she'd done something wrong. I told her the truth in language she could hold. Grandma and Grandpa made choices that hurt us. So we're spending our time with people who are kind. She nodded. Stopped asking. Cost. I grieved the family I thought I had. The one where I mattered as much as I gave. Where my children were cherished, not ranked. That family never existed. But letting go of the hope still hurt. I started therapy. Talked about enmeshment, parentification, financial abuse wrapped in the language of family duty. My therapist asked what I'd learned. That love isn't supposed to cost everything, I said. She nodded. And? That I'm allowed to stop paying. Boundaries feel like loss until they start to feel like freedom. The first month without transfers, I put that money into my kids' savings accounts. The second month, I paid off a chunk of my own debt. By the third month, I stopped checking my phone every hour, stopped flinching at notifications. I chose the family I was raising over the one that raised me. Reconciliation would have required them to see me. Really see me, not as a revenue stream or a backup plan, but as a daughter, as a person. They didn't. So I stopped waiting. My brother and I talk now. Real conversations. He's working through his own stuff with them. We're both learning that distance isn't cruelty. It's preservation. If you've ever been the invisible one in your family, you're not alone. And you're not the problem. I still keep the spreadsheet. Not to reopen old wounds, but to remember. I am not obligated to set myself on fire to keep anyone warm. Not even the people who raised me. And I finally felt like enough.